I think it's a couple of new people that I don't know, like Carol Santiago. So, okay. Okay. We can start down here with Sarah Collier.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm Sarah Collier, an assistant professor in the College of Pharmacy. I'm in the Pharmaceutical Sciences section. And I'll be celebrating my 1-year anniversary here at Lipscomb November 1.
Oh, good. Okay.
So we're really close.
Okay.
Walter Serdet, teaching College of Bible.
And how long you been here? Because you know she knows.
12 years.
12 years. Okay.
I'm Cynthia going with Lipscomb Online, and I've been here over a year also.
Okay. Well, see, y'all are kind of way over in the corner. Yeah. And I might get in there to visit or something. I see somebody new every time I come here. So.
Yeah.
So 1 year, more than a year, more than a year. Okay.
My name is Kathy Williams, and I teach in the nursing program here, and I've been here 5 years.
Okay.
Jenna Sisson, I teach in nursing as well. I've been here 4, 5, so we count adjunct. 4 or 5 years, something like that. I think.
See, I don't remember.
4 years.
Okay. See, I don't remember meeting you.
Yeah.
And I might have.
Now that we've officially.
We'll see now.
I've seen you. I listened to you before.
Oh, you have?
And I came back.
I'm so glad. Hi, Brian.
Hello. I'm Brian Cavett. I'm in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. Been here 5 years now.
Oh, it's been a while. So Brian is also president of Faculty Senate this time again.
That's the rumor.
So if you have concerns and complaints, okay. All right.
Al Still, Computing and then Center for Teaching and Learning. And this is number 40.
Woohoo! We get gold star, Al.
Ryan Bass, Associate Provost, work out at the Center for Teaching and Learning Academic Success Center as well as Provost Office, and it's about 7.5 years.
So, Al, were there even computers when you started?
Yeah.
You know, I watched a movie that was filmed in 2008 recently, and they had the small iPhones. Was like, I don't remember those back that far, but you know, that's kind of a tale on the movies. So one of the things that I think about as associate provost, and this is my 11th year here at Lipscomb. I served 9 years as dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, and actually came here as founding dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. So I'm excited about what we do, and excited to learn more about what we should be doing and what we need to do. Flora, they just finished introduction, so you get to do it too.
Okay. I'm so sorry I'm late, y'all. I was teaching a 10 o'clock class, and students wanted to ask so many questions afterwards as if they've never seen me before. But my name is Flora Musana. I'm a professor in the biology department. I'm currently the associate dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. And I've worked with them before. I just love it there.
Thank you. I love you. I do. But I had a few questions while y'all are eating, because you're not going to get to eat long because you got to get to do a little work. One question was, have you ever been in a place where you thought no one knew you, attended a congregation where no one spoke to each other, much less spoke to you? I have. Okay. The opposite of that is, have you ever been in a congregation where you thought no one knew you and someone did? I have. Now, I'll give you an example of this weekend. I attended a diversity conference at George Fox University just outside Portland. So I thought, well, I'll just take that extra day on Sunday, because it went Friday and Saturday, and Sunday I thought, I don't need to ride around to see what it feels like here in Portland on this side of the world, and how beautiful it was. And it was wonderful. It rained on Thursday afternoon when I got there, and you know, rain there and rain here is completely different. It's like rain. Here's like rain. Okay. But anyway, so Saturday night I thought, I'm going to church Sunday morning, as I generally try to do on a regular basis. So you know how you just like, oh, no. So I said, Church of Christ near me. And we had about 10 of them. It's like, okay, well, I wonder which one. So I'm going to pick this one. And what I said was, I'm not going to check to see if they have instrumental music, if they have what you call those people who sing? The praise team or not. I don't know if they're going to have a this or that, whatever. Okay. So I picked that one, rode around, got to see a little bit more of the area. Went inside, met people. Hi, yeah, okay, we met. And people, it was like buzz in the little theater. So I thought that's a good sign. And, you know, several people came back and talked to me, and they said, well, you from Nashville? Yeah, you with Lipscomb? Yeah, I'm thinking, why don't you think I'm with Lipscomb? But that's what they said. They said, well, we have a lot of people here from Tennessee today. I said, oh, you do? Now, mind you, I'm on the other side of the country, over in a congregation I've never been to, in a place I've never stayed in, all those things. So I met a few more people, and they said, well, we really appreciate all the people who came for Christian Recruiting Weekend. Oh, okay. Then I thought, I didn't know there was a Christian Recruiting Weekend. This is not where I had planned to come. So I went on up, and I always sit toward the front no matter where I am, because I'm challenged, to pay attention. So I said, well, I don't have to look around all the people because I'm gonna look around. So I sat up toward the front, settled in my seat, and I called them first. And I said, what time do your services start? They said, well, Bible study's at 9. I thought that's a good sign. And then the worship starts at 10. Okay, well, I was late, so I just ate breakfast and I went over there. So I went up front and I sat down. And I always sit kind of mid, on this side, close to the podium so I can see and, just stand around, whatever. So I got myself together for the first time, looked around. I thought, looks like Ken. Because you're in a different place across the country and not expecting to see mostly anybody you ever seen before. And I'm thinking, no, that's not him. It was Ken Durham. And I'm thinking, see, that's why it's important to do what you're supposed to do when you're in public, because you don't know who's watching you. That's right. Okay? So I thought, it was like 2 or 3 minutes before the service started. I'm thinking, that's Ken. So I sat there and, and I kept saying to myself, I can't believe this. I can't believe he's at this congregation on this day at this time, and so am I. So we went on with the services, and Ken spoke and everything. So I couldn't wait to get this. I said, Ken, I thought that was you. So he said, Norma. He said, I thought that was you. He said, no, that can't be Norma. He said, and it was you. It was me. So that's my I have story. And it was powerful because I'm thinking, who would have imagined that? I didn't, but that's where I ended up. And we chatted about it and everything. So it was really quite wonderful. So today what I want to talk about with you and discuss with you is what does love mean? What does value mean? It means a lot of things to us as Christians because that's what we're called to do. Now a lot of times we don't always do it, but we should and we're supposed to, we're expected to. So we have an especially higher expectation from God than most people because we said we would obey him and live the life we're supposed to all of our lives and do things we're supposed to do. Now we do it in some ways. Some ways we can do better. And we always can do better if we study and think about what life is supposed to be really like. So I use Romans, I use John 13 first and then Romans. Yeah, that's what, okay. So I picked John 13, 34, and 35 for my thinking about it. And usually when I do talks, workshops, or speeches, I always think a whole lot longer than I write because for me it requires how do I contextualize what I'm going to talk about for our group? How do I think about it and how does it apply to me and what am I going to do with it? So it says, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. And how do we show that? So, and I'm going to go to my ending scripture, and then I'm going to back up because most of you are almost finished. One says, this is Romans 12, 17, and 18. It says, do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. And that's kind of difficult because we redefine things and we see things differently. People talk about it so that it's really okay, and it's not. But that's what people say. Well, it's okay. We don't really have to. But anyway, it says, if it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do you know how hard it is to live with peace with everyone? That means getting out of your way, allowing God to say, you don't really want to do that, do you? Yeah, Lord, but if you just help me, I won't do that. So living in a peaceful setting is an important criteria of our lives on earth. And there is one organization that I know that works for peace all the time. That's their mission, their goal, and what they do. And that's the U.S. Institute for Peace in Washington, D.C. This organization was founded in 1984, and they had I guess, temporary quarters all over D.C. It's a federal agency, and they do peace studies, and they go around the world where there is conflict and try to have peace. Their organization is located, let's say, down the street directly across from the Lincoln Memorial. So if you ever go to DC, or when you go to DC, just kind of look down the hill, and it's this big, beautiful building, and on the roof it has something that looks like dove wings. It's really one of the most beautiful buildings in Washington. Okay, and there are a couple people who have visited our campus a couple of times, twice. One lady came back in the spring and talked about some of the work that we're doing. So while I was dean, I went to visit them because they said, well, if you're ever in DC, we can sit and have tea. I take invitations like that. So in case you intend to offer one, and because I'm coming back to do it. So I went and I talked with them, and she was on her way to Lebanon. They go all over in the Middle East where all the conflict is and sit down with people and have conversations. So that's a peaceful approach to solving problems and work with people. You have to sit and you have to talk with them and you have to look at them. So in a few minutes, you're going to get to look at each other, okay? But anyway, Romans 12:16 says, live in harmony with one another. Do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. I'm not quite sure how low position is translated. I don't know what that means. I don't know the low positions other than, those people, them, those that, that I guess is what it is. I don't know. And I say that because I grew up on a farm, and we lived in a community where my parents owned the property that they lived on. And most of the people in our community owned property. And there were a few people who were sharecroppers and people who didn't own. But you would never know it because of the attitude with which I was raised. And my dad taught us how to sit with everybody. You're not any better than anybody else. And my brother tells a story about getting his driver's license and learning to drive. And the first place he got to go was, my mom said, go over and get this minute and take her to the laundromat with all her clothes. So that was his introduction to, I get to drive? Yeah, you can take Miss Minnie over to, and you get to take Miss so-and-so to so-and-so and so where. That's the way my parents were. So we were no better than anybody else and never thought about being any better. I once had a fairly wealthy graduate student, didn't know she was wealthy, until we went to her wedding at the Botanical Garden in New York City. And we rode up on the golf carts to the place where the wedding was. And then the reception had flowers that you couldn't even imagine. We're like, what does her daddy do? Well, he worked for Philip Morris as a finance man. So, it's like, okay. Four faculty members, we were there like, oh, okay. You don't know how to behave in situations like that other than say, okay. You had dishes that you never saw on the table to eat with, things like that. 10 spoons and 10 glasses and when you got up, they fold your napkin and put it back for you. Those kind of things. But we were taught, you're not any better than anybody else. What? You go pick cotton just like everybody else. You go chop cotton and do all the things that everybody else does. And when you grow up, then you know how to sit with anybody. Presidents, congressmen, all kinds of people. I saw Congressman Cooper at a funeral in Cheville. Okay, I did. Okay, but what I want you to do today, what we're going to do today, is stand up. If you're finishing up, yeah, I see you mostly. Okay, stand up. And I think what we can do is match up. So you all need to come around. So there's kind of 2 on 2. So from Brian, y'all come on around and just stand in front of each other so you'll have somebody to look at and not me, okay? Come on down, yeah.
So both of us stand in front of you,
Yes.
right? So the stand
Okay. Yes.
This is really perfect. Okay, now, just face each other, don't look at me. Okay. And some questions I want you to think about. And no, you don't get to talk, you just look at each other. Okay, here we go. Have you ever offended any one of your fellow human beings? Did you know that you offended them? What did you do about it? How have you allowed God to transform you into a loving human being? What are some ways in which you exhibit this behavior toward you? Do you love yourself? Do you love your family? Toward your coworkers? Toward your students? Are you doing enough? Who knows you are loving? Do your brothers and sisters know? How often do you share with them? Do you talk to them about that? What difference have you made in the quality in the life of a student, another employee, another family member? How will you spread the wonderful news that God has given to you? How do you love your students? How did you feel when a professor said something in the class that made you feel, as the young people say, some kind of way? How do you think your students feel? What did that student look like when you met them for the first time? Do you remember how you felt when you came to class? Do your students know that you care? So being more conscious of your speech, every word that you say, every thought that you have will make a world of difference to someone. So you can start today. So now let's have our discussion. You all get an A because you listen to each other. Have a seat. Okay. Now you can answer some of the questions that I was asking you, because they're important conversations to have. Yeah, just sit down anyway. So tell me what you thought. And you have, you know, when I first heard this exercise, there were people in tears about it, because you know, you think about, what was I like when I was 18? How did I feel about that? And then there was some recent activities among the group that had just occurred, and they were painful. So when we say certain things, we do certain things in our classes, our students feel the same way, but they're not going to tell you. I understand there was an incident yesterday, and students were terribly upset about it. Yesterday on our campus, very upset about it. You would never know, because they're not going to tell you. They just don't, but they'll tell somebody. And the pain that they feel, you can feel it when they tell you things, when they share with you how they felt about X, Y. And somebody saying, did you? I heard about it, but I wasn't in on the conversations, but I know about it. But our students today, in the generation that we're dealing with, is very different than our generation, my generation, Al's generation, and your generations, because they are sensitive, they feel more. You know, everything is personal, whether or not you know it or not, but everything is personal. My daughter was talking about moving. So her daughter said, well, Mom, I don't want to move. She said, well, you know, we can just move right over here by the school. And she says, well, do I get to ride the bus? She said, no, you don't get to ride the bus. She said, then I don't want to move. You know, it was something that was so small but so large, because she says, well, if I don't get to move the bus, ride the bus, then I can just stay where I am. Why I gotta move? I can't ride the bus. She said, no, oh no, I don't want to move. But for her, that was a huge thing, because she didn't get to ride the bus. But our students tell us things that say, I was offended by X, Y, and Z. They are very, very easily offended by things just like, why, what, from our perspective. But their little hearts are still tender, and they still feel things, and they feel them deeply. And we're like, I don't see what the problem was. It's the problems of them. So we work with them to help them sort through the things so that they can understand why, and we can understand why they're offended. You know, it's so much better to understand instead of seeking to be understood. And our students are in that understanding phase where you have to listen to what they're saying. I also recently attended a seminar on listening. Now that was hard, because I like to talk. But the person who gave the seminar was an introvert, so he didn't like to talk at all. But you know, I said, well, give us some hints about how you help people who like to talk listen better. He said, well, I'm not sure, because I never talk a lot. I said, I'm not talking about me, but how do we learn to listen better? How do we learn to be more aware of what's around us, people who don't talk and don't say anything? So your comments are welcome. You can talk now. Yeah.
Norma, one of the things I thought about during the exercise was my first year of teaching, how I just thought I had a whole bunch of upper white middle class kids who came from privilege. And I probably taught like that for about 2 years before I figured out ways of getting to learn their stories in a variety of different ways. And to realize that's just a small percentage of our student population.
You know, I think to the real world, all the students who go here are just rich kids. They're not.
No.
They're not by any means. Certainly, most of us aren't. There may be a few of us somewhere, I don't know, but most of us are regular people doing extraordinary things in extraordinary ways and listening to what our students need, you know. And I think that's important for all the students to know, because the students think that the other half is really rich and this part is really poor, and it's just all mixed up, and we don't know until you ask somebody. And we don't think about it a lot because, well, you're here, you must be rich, or you must be wealthy, or I don't belong here. And I see it all the time, and our students voice those sorts of things all the time. You know, I don't know if this is the place for me. I don't know if I should be here. I didn't even know how I got here. It's a place for all the students that we have, you know, and making them feel that is an important criteria of retention in the brain. So I think having students to explain things to us so that we can listen and hear more and hear better, hear more deeply is a critical piece of that. And our families too, you know. And when we go to worship, there are people who don't even talk to each other sometimes. And people say, you know, you can read them as if they're saying, I hope nobody says anything to me this morning. I really don't want to be here. I know I need to be here, but okay, I'll be here for an hour. And as soon as it's over, get them right at the door. And some of them do that, but you don't know why. Do you approach people when you see them, or can you read people to say they must need something? They must need something from me. What do you do when you see situations like that? Do you respond, or how do you respond to it? Do you? Do you value me enough to say, I haven't seen you in a long time, and what I probably would want to do is just scream, break down and cry, because probably I've been away because I was dealing with some stuff that I didn't want nobody else to know about me. You could ask me, I might tell you if you take time to listen. Instead, what we do is, how you doing? Fine. What I really want is, my back is killing me. I want to go and put my feet up. I shouldn't be here. I don't like sitting down because I can't see. She always going down front. I don't know why, why she keep doing what she's doing, whatever that is. But all sorts of things go through our minds, and that monkey mind rules us because we have like all these things in our minds, like, so then we're not here for each other. And the scriptures tell us to love one another so that you know that you're part of the body. Do we do that? It's a whole lot easier to do that than to not take the responsibility and say, okay, Lord, I see what you're saying. I'm going to follow that. It's so much easier, I tell you. It's so much easier to do that than to do something different. And when you figure it out, it's like, man, I could have been doing this the whole time, and I wasn't. You see? So when you begin to think about what the scriptures tell us to do, it's a whole lot easier than the stuff that we choose to do. And it means a whole lot more to other people than you know. Have you ever responded to somebody who needed to be responded to in love? And not say, well, I'm loving you. You are? What does that mean? What does it mean when you are vulnerable enough to be hurt? Vulnerable enough to be talked about? I love when I get talked about. You can tell. Because, okay. Oh, excuse me. I really don't. Because I know who I work for. I know what that work is supposed to be. And I try my best to do it daily. So I'm good. I might not get a raise here, but I'm going to get one. I already know that. So I am less concerned about what people think about certain things about me. And if you have time to spend thinking about that, you know, and I think when I was dean, I used to think, you know, people say, I wonder what Norma's going, I wonder how she's, I wasn't thinking about you. I had all day to fix stuff. By the time I got to you, it's 5 o'clock. You know? So my responsibility is to love other people, love me. And it's important to love me. That's why I can love people so deeply. Because I just thoroughly love myself. And that's not a, let me see, what was that word he said, what he said. Do not be conceited. Okay, that's the last part of Romans 12:16. Do not be conceited. I am not conceited, but I do know that I love myself and I've learned to do that. That way, I can tolerate a whole lot of stuff. And it doesn't bother me so much because it's not about me. It's about whatever you're dealing with. So, how do you feel about yourself? Have you thought about how you feel about yourself? Do you take yourself too seriously or do you take your work seriously? Taking your work seriously and you seriously are two different things. So, you know, when you learn to love yourself, you can love your family a whole lot more deeply. You won't care that the toothpaste tube is squeezed in the middle. You really won't. It's like hand toothpaste, so you stop, put it over there. But every time I come to the bathroom, toothpaste is squeezed in some. Yeah, always is. And whether or not you notice it's a different thing. Because of what you feel for your family around you. You give them grace and you forgive them and go on. I always tell my students or the young people at church, because I go to college class at church, so I can understand what they be saying. I do, I really do.
Yeah.
So I'll say, yeah, you know, I forgive us every day. So how you stay married so long? I said, I forgive us every day. And it, you know, certain things just don't matter anymore. Don't you think so? I said, well, I used to. I don't anymore. After 43 years, I figured out a lot of things. You know? So my husband and I just celebrated 43 years, and I'm very thankful for that. And it just gets better every day because there's some things I don't even pay any attention to anymore. And you won't either. You know, you stay married to a person long enough. You just kind of like, whatever. You're not picking it up, I'm not picking it up, we'll pick it up one day. Okay, fine. You don't like it enough, it bothers you a whole lot, you pick it up. And you keep it moving, you know? So when you take the approach of love and you look at people in different ways than you used to, you treat them a lot better. You treat your students better rather than, I know they didn't do the homework. Well, what you should say is, I noticed I didn't get your homework, why not? What's going on? Oh, well, they'll tell you. Sometimes more you want to know, but they will tell you if you're sensitive to them rather than, you know, there was an example on YouTube from Rita Pearson. And Rita Pearson is the one who talked about being a good teacher, all students need an advocate. And there's one where she did a lot of training videos, how to teach teachers how to talk to students. And one shows where she attacks this young man because she caught him cheating or something. And she just, you know, and she accused him. And then they showed the other one about it. She said, well, tell me what's going on, why you didn't get your assignment in, because I know you can do better than that. And he explains very calmly, and you know, they come to a different resolution. Same issue, a different approach. See, so when we love people, we should have a different approach that we take with them when they don't do their work. Is it something that we need to do that can help you get it in on time a little bit better next time? Because we're human. Yes, ma'am.
Something on that just triggered is like with my coaching background, they have a thing called presuming positive intent. So like presuming like when these students are going to do their homework. So I've kind of changed the questions that I ask. And like, so what plan of action do you have to get this in after I have found out more information? And it's like, oh, Dr. N, I'll get it right to you. Like by the end of the day, you'll have it.
Yeah.
You know?
Rather than, I'm not gonna do it because I know she won't accept it anyway. I know it's gonna be late. I know I'm not gonna get any credit. I just won't do it.
Yeah.
And then they stop doing a lot of things, and then you lose those people. When you could have kept them in the system, moving forward with what you do. It's all about how we approach our students and approach each other, for example. You know, I used to think about people, you know, they must not be good people because they don't even speak. Well, now I know the students don't speak because they can't hear you. When everything is stopped up. But I speak to them anyway. Sometimes you get through, but their ears are plugged up with whatever they got going this way, you know. But the best one of Rita Pearson's speeches is the one on the TED Talk that she gave, and she talks about giving a young man a +2, and she gave his exam that had 20 questions and he missed 18. She said, now if I had put -18 on his paper, she said it would have sucked the life out of him. But she said, I gave him a +2 and a happy face. And he said, Miss Pearson, didn't I get an F? She said, yes. She said, but you got +2 and you ain't on, yeah, you're all good. She said, because I know you're going to do better next time. Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm going to do better. Still got, you know, -18, but, you know, he had a +2 and he was happy. And he said, but you put a happy face on my paper. She said, yes, I did. But didn't I get F? Yes. Oh. She said, but you're going to do better next time, aren't you? Oh, yes, ma'am, I'm going to do better next time. You know, because she was talking about the worst of the worst students that she ever had, young people. So we can't write our young people off because they're our future. How are we going to treat them? So what changes will you make, or do you see yourself making when you begin to love deeper, love more fully in your classes, in your family life, and in every life that you live? So we have about 15 different lives and roles around those things. So we have lots of opportunities to be loving and not feel beat up if somebody doesn't love you back. It's okay, that's your problem. You're gonna miss all the good I'm trying to put on you, you know? And you won't stay angry so long. You know, what would happen if you died angry? Seriously. You know? Or if the person you were mad with died and you didn't get to apologize. What would that feel like? Awful, because I was gone. It's too late. So you better make sure those relationships are good when you leave the house in the morning or during the day or whatever, because so what if you got angry about it? Is it gonna help you any? Probably not. Just let the Lord handle it for you. And then you'll be okay because you've done what you're supposed to do. Rather than trying to make that person do what they're supposed to do. You can't control that. And it's a whole lot of waste of your good time trying to do that. So, you know. So how are you going to treat your students better? What are some suggestions you can offer to the group that might help you treat your students better?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
A few years ago, a couple of years probably, I did checkoffs with our students, our nursing students, and they had to, whatever it was, give shots or whatever. And it's real nerve-wracking because they're just sitting there in front of us and they have to do every step right. And I failed one of them and I said, you know, you really need to work on. Well, she went out crying. And on my survey, I got one that said, you made so-and-so cry. And I'm thinking, no, she made her cry because she didn't do her work. But they don't get that. They look at me as that person that made her cry. Okay. So this week we had checkoffs, you know, and I'm trying to work on this area because I don't know what you do without totally babying people, yet at the same time, you want them to know you care. And so I didn't pass a couple because you wouldn't want this person giving you a shot right now. You just really wouldn't. No. And some of the mistakes, yes. And that's what I said, you know what? I want you to be the best nurse ever. And I think that you want me to make sure that you're doing this right. And you're not doing this right. And you haven't been to open lab and you haven't practiced. And that's why we have open lab. And I really want you to be the best. And I think you can be the best. Please understand it. And just showing sincerity. And that really is how I do feel that way. Whereas maybe before it was like, hey, you failed. And I would try, it's okay. But still, I'm trying to take the extra step of being more compassionate and more, because they're so stressed out. And they had 3 tests last week, you know, and there's always a reason of some personal thing going on in their life, but they still have to do it right. Right. And so it's like, you know, you can do this. You are going to be the best nurse, but I can't let you go.
And they're like, I can? You really think I can?
Yes, and that's exactly right. And then, or if they don't make a certain grade, we have them come in on a test and we talk to them about it. And I had that a few weeks ago. Somebody was it's on quizzes they weren't doing. Call them in, and I'm just like, look, I know you can do better, and it's you know, I want you to be the best, and you have to watch these videos. You have to be able to, you know, and that. Like, but we said, you know, well, actually, I've had them, and even yesterday at checkoff, they said, I'm glad you care. I am so glad you care. And I thought, oh, well, that wasn't really that hard to do.
Right.
You think I care, and I do, but I mean, I portrayed it.
No, I know what you're
I didn't
saying.
mean that I always cared, but
Yeah.
yeah, I've always cared, but I guess I didn't present it well enough that I cared. It was more cut and dry, because that's what we're used to, you know, okay.
Yeah. But you know, when you teach a student care, they know. And Rita Pearson was saying, she said, you know, students can't learn from people who don't like them, or who they don't like, who don't like them. And she said one teacher came in and said, you know, she was just paid to teach them. She didn't have to like them. She said, you're gonna have a hard way to go if you don't like your students and teach them things. They're not gonna learn from you.
Or they think you don't like them.
Oh yeah.
They think you don't like them because you said something, or you didn't look at them right, and they think you don't like them. I've had that.
Right.
You have to just sit down and say, let's have a party.
And it's good. And you know, we're here at Lipscomb in a setting that says, I can take you and talk to you, and we can talk about it, and then I can pray for you. And they're like,
Exactly.
okay. And then someone will say, can I really have a hug? I can have a hug? Yeah, you can have a hug, you know. You give me permission to hug you, great. But some of them are like, well, okay. And then some of you can feel like, she's gonna hug me. Okay. She's gonna hug me, she's gonna hug me. Okay. So you have to be careful about it and clear about the purpose of your hug for them. Because some people are huggers and some people are not. And even in church, they're like, hi, how you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. I'm thinking you got a cold again. Oh, you know, I got it. You know, students the same way. So, any other suggestions? So talk to them with care so that they know you care. They don't care how much you know, they care how much you care. So, any other suggestions?
One of the changes that I've done with this semester, actually, I realized that I was very complimentary of students who do so well, the A students. So in my courses, after students have written a test, there's a multiple choice section and a short answer section. When I summarize the grade on the scantron that I'll give back to them, and if somebody gets a perfect score, like your daughter gets a perfect score, I'll say, oh, outstanding, you're so good, thank you. And somebody gets a 35%, nothing.
Right.
Complete silence.
Right.
So now I try to encourage them, you got this, you can do it. Stop by and talk to me, and I can give you some tips on how to succeed for next time. So I do that. Every scantron has got a note that is written to a student. And I did not realize the impact. I only started doing this semester actually with my freshman level biology class. And oh my goodness, students will come now to my office. They truly cherish the message on the slide.
Like, she think
you can do it.
I can get out of the room. I can.
Which is why they all wanted to stay after.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you know, some people won't have students who come to office hours. They won't talk to you at all.
Yes.
So she thinks,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So those notes have been very positive. If they are coming to talk to me after reading the note, and they smile actually, even if the grade is very atrocious.
right, like a +2 out of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But again, one of the things that I have really struggled with, even some of my colleagues, is the tendency to trivialize students' feelings.
Oh.
I just do not know at times how to get about that or to get around that. When we truly trivialize, I mean, I had 2 students, I don't know whether I told you this, who came to my office and they were literally in tears because the professor did not recognize them.
Right.
He did not know their names. Just that, he did not know their names.
Wouldn't you want somebody to know your name?
Exactly, right? You know, so for that, it's like, oh, yesterday you is gonna know your names later on, but others he knows already or she knows already their names. So I don't know, at times we trivialize such kind of you know, their issues or their complaints, and they think they don't matter in the grand scheme of things.
I know we can do
But
better.
the issues.
Okay, well, I know you have classes, it's 10 till now almost, so thank you so much for coming and sharing and participating. And for lunch.
Yes.
Thank you
for
for
lunch.
lunch.
Yes. Yes, and if you will drop your name into the green basket on your way out, greatly appreciated. Thank you once again. Thank you, Norma.
You're welcome.
Great job. Yes.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I had my children.
Yes, sir.
I have come sometimes.
Yeah.